Hello and welcome to today's 5-Minute Friday. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Nick Taylor, the founder and chief exec of Unmind. Nick, you and I met in January 2017. We just sold Thompson's to Mercer and started to embark on our angel investing, myself and Michael, my co-founder. And Michael had met you, and Michael suggested that we meet, and we met at sort of 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd just come off the red eye. It was Heathrow Airport, and you talked about your vision for a very different way that the world should think about mental health, and how you saw that you could make that vision a reality through Unmind. And some 4 years later, it's been an incredible journey so far. And Unmind announced last week the successful Series B fundraise of $47 million. And so huge congratulations about that. And Nick, just start off just by telling everybody, what is it that Unmind does?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Chris, and thanks for the congratulations. It was brilliant to announce the Series B last week during Mental Health Awareness Week. And I can't believe it's been 4 years since we met in the airport. I still very vividly remember that conversation. So Unmind is a workplace mental health platform. And what we do is two things. The first is that we empower employees to take proactive care of their mental health by using the digital platform that we've built. And the second thing we do is that we aggregate and anonymize that data so that organizations get unprecedented insight into how their people are. And then they can make strategic investments based on data, ensuring that their people have the absolute best-in-class well-being support moving forwards. So we are very, very excited by the kind of way in which the topic of mental health has gone from being somewhat on the sidelines when we first met to now being absolutely front and center. And there isn't an organization that I know of that isn't talking about how to now move mental health into the next stage, which is prevention. So it's an exciting time for the topic.
Yeah, and certainly within the marketplace, I think you're pretty unique in your positioning and your focus on helping companies to help their people and the data that they've got to then be able to support them. And Nick, I'm going to take a little bit of a different turn on this call now. And so you're a guy, you really understand mental health. You were a clinical psychologist in the NHS for many years. It's your area of passion and understanding. But you're also somebody who, as a CEO of a fast growth tech company, is under huge pressure. And I can't imagine how many people want a bit of your time. You're recruiting dozens of people into the business on a sort of weekly basis. You're expanding around the world. It'd be great to get a couple of as so many people are now working harder than they ever have done. They're stuck at their kitchen tables. It would be great if you could share some insights on how you think about actually managing your own mental health.
Yeah, happy to. I think before I kind of get straight into that, it's worth giving a bit of a frame as to both my background, but also how we approach mental health at Unmind, because that will inform the answer I give. So as you mentioned, I've spent a lot of time working in mental health services. I was a volunteer with the Samaritans and the leading crisis helpline for people in the UK. I was a frontline support worker for Mind, the mental health charity. I led NHS health teams. I've lectured in universities, and I've seen a lot of great practice, as you can imagine, over all of those experiences, and worked with some incredible people. But fundamentally, became incredibly frustrated that when it comes to mental health, we don't focus on prevention. So often when we're talking about the topic, we're talking about mental ill health. We're not talking about mental health. And that's really important to frame my personal understanding of, and relationship with the topic. Mental health is not something that we should just think about when we are getting unwell. It's something that we should think about all of the time, because we all have mental health all of the time, from the moment we're born to the moment we die. And it's a spectrum that we move up and down from day to day, week to week, month to month. And like with any area of healthcare, prevention is better than cure. It's why that we teach, albeit unsuccessfully in my own example, it's why we teach our children to brush their teeth from about the age of 1. It's why even in the height of lockdown, we've been allowed to exercise. We know prevention is so important, and it's true with mental health as well. So what does prevention in mental health look like? Well, to answer that question, you really need to think, well, what is mental health if we all have it all of the time? At Unmind, we talk about this whole person approach to mental health. So you understand your mental health as being psychological, so it's your personality, it's your core beliefs about the world, it's how much risk you feel and perceive. It's your physical life, so your age, your gender, your disease status, your fitness, your nutrition, your sleep, and then it's your social life. So your relationships with your family, your friends, your work environment, your home environment, your finances. And it's all of these things together uniquely position you on the mental health spectrum. And I think for me personally, with my mental health, it's about making sure that whole person part of my life is well balanced. So when it comes to my psychological life, making sure that I'm making time to learn, making sure that I'm developing positive thought patterns, so practicing gratitude every day, practicing mindfulness techniques. When it comes to my physical life, making sure that I eat well, making sure that I prioritize sleep, making sure that I eat the right foods. And when it comes to my social life, making sure I'm connecting well with people who are important to me, making sure that I am kind of aware of my work-life balance, making sure that I am being close to the people I want to be close with, and prioritizing those things. But the reality is, I am as flawed as anyone else, because irrespective of how well you know your mental health, your life happens, and you have up days and down days. And the important thing, I think, is to be checking in, to be managing your mental health. So for me, one of the most impactful things I do to manage my mental health is to use the Unmind Index, which is the assessment tool we built in-house. And it allows me to track my mental health on an ongoing basis. And when I see areas that actually my scores are dipping a little bit, I can focus on that. It might be that I need to sleep more. It might be that I'm feeling kind of very worried, so I need to kind of really practice mindfulness or analyzing the problem, but really just tracking and monitoring my mental health and thinking about it as that whole person topic.
And Nick, that's brilliant and great insight. And I've just been reading that those people who are working more than 55 hours a week are much more likely to suffer with illness and disease than people who don't. But the challenge that many people have is the work is now all encompassing. You don't leave the office at 5 or 5:30 and go back home and then have quality of life. For so many people, they're always switched on. And when often I talk to people about work-life balance, and they say, but it's difficult to have a work-life balance because I've got to get my work done. And so how do you cope with that? Because that must be something which you're really feeling. And having gone through the fundraise process and trying to build a business must be been very challenging. So how do you make sure that you can actually achieve sort of a decent work-life balance?
I think it is a conflict, isn't it, for lots of people, because a lot of jobs are very demanding and require a huge number of hours to be put into them. Personally, the way I manage that is I have a very strong sense of purpose with what I'm doing. I'm very committed to the topic, and therefore it doesn't feel like a kind of, oh well, I have to do my work. My work is what I'm passionate about doing, and therefore it doesn't grate with me so much. And I'm very lucky to be able to say that, because I think that's not true for everyone. It is true for a lot of people though, and that purpose can be quite a protective factor. I'm also my wife Mary is incredibly supportive. That makes my working patterns much easier for me personally to manage. And interestingly, I have found lockdown and COVID, whilst there's been some really tough things about it, there have been some useful learnings as well. One of those is that, and now I look back and I think this was silly really. I would go in an hour and a half's commute into the office, and then I would get to the office and I'd spend the whole day on the phone to people that weren't in the office. And actually there's kind of an absurdity to that really. And I can be much more productive now by staying at home for the days that I need to be on the phone to people, because it cuts the commute, it means it's less tiring. And then when I go into the office, it's really to be present with people and to be collaborating on projects with people. And that's what I'm hoping that the future of the work looks like for so many people, is that kind of ability to have more autonomy over our working lives. And so I think those things are incredibly valuable to me. And then I've actually loved being able to spend time with my children more over this period. And because really our health across all areas of health is like a battery, isn't it? And it kind of, it goes down, you've got to top it up. So I think there are opportunities now about the future of work which will allow some people in the workplace to recharge their batteries more quickly than in the world we've just left.